Hi there, and welcome back to another video on Outreach Magic. Today we're going to talk about the positive trends reports. This is one of my favorite reports in the system because you can start to see patterns in terms of what's working and what's not working with your campaigns. This can make it much easier to scale out your campaigns. A lot of times we're doing so much, it's hard to know what's working. And so what we can do is this allows us to really zoom out and start to dig into the data and start to see if we can see some things that are working better than others. And that will give us insights into where we should be sourcing our data from, what attributes we should be using when we're sourcing data. And so that way we're only reaching out to those people who are actually interested in what you're providing. So you can see on the screen here, we can see some basic events for the emails and for the LinkedIn. So we're tracking so much information, but the basics here, you can see how many emails were sent, and this is for that particular time period. So by default, it shows 90 days worth of data. You can add more data from here. There's no limit to how much data you have. What's really cool about Outreach Magic is if you switch tools, maybe you're using SmartLead and now you're going to be using Instantly, or now you're going to be using PlusVibe, or you're switching different tools back and forth. What's really cool about our platform is you don't lose any of your data. So we have clients that have been with us for years and we actually still have their data. That being said, you can see what actually happened. And this example, as I said, is for the last 90 days. So if you want more data, you'll just change that here. You can see email sent, unique email replies. So this is the actual unique people and the unique reply rate. So if somebody emails you 2 or 3 times, it's only going to count per one. And you can see how many were positive. You can see the average email sent to positive, which is how many emails got sent out and for them to actually reply a positive lead. So maybe you sent 3 emails to some people and 1 to some people, and that will give you an average of 1.5, for example. So you can see the average. You can see the average days to positive. This is really interesting. This is from the first day you've reached out to them to when the first time they had a positive interest. You can also see similar attributes for LinkedIn, how many connections were sent, how many were accepted, your acceptance rate, the total number that were positive, the average number of DMs sent to positive, and the average days to positive as well. So now I want to show you how you can start to cross-filter the data. So you can go through and you can filter by different profiles to see what the stats are for each particular client. You can also filter by different platforms to see what's happening with each particular platform. You can filter by different sentiment. So you can see I just want to see the positives. You can also sort by the different channels. And you can also filter by the different weeks. So if you just want to see what happened for one particular week, you can click on that, and that will filter all the data just for that particular week. Now we want to start to look at some trends here to see if we can start to understand what's going on. So we can let's look at Pilot Stack, for example. So let's say we just want to look at the client Pilot Stack and try to help improve their campaigns. So we'll just click on Pilot Stack, for example. And we'll scroll down, and now we're going to start to look at the email trends, and we're going to look at the total number of positives they've had, their positive reply rate. So you can see the events campaign is doing much better than the careers campaign. It's getting a higher percentage rate. And then we can start to see how many emails were sent. So this is really interesting. You can see this one had 15. The events campaign had 15 positives with 1 email sent and 12 positives with 2 emails sent. So this is telling us that it's still converting pretty good at these higher numbers. You can see 4 emails had 2, and there's some that we weren't able to match. You can see when there's no match, it'll say no match. But you can see how many emails converted the highest. So the highest one was 1 email. So if you're optimizing this campaign, the highest converting is going to be 1 or 2 emails. So when you're sending these out, you probably won't want to have more than, this one actually has 8. So you can look, okay, I want to look at careers, for example. Let's just filter down even more. So we can click on careers, and we can see that once we go above 3 emails, it goes down quite a bit lower. So we can see 2 emails actually had the highest for careers. And if we go to events, we can see that the highest was 1 email. So this just starts to give us some insights into, should we be sending 1 email, 2 emails, 3 emails? What is the optimal for this campaign? Once you do that, you can also see what's really cool is how long it took to get the first positive. So this is interesting. You might be saying, okay, I sent them 3 emails, but over what time period did I send them those 3 emails? And this is where you can start to look into that. So for the events campaign, you can see the same day, there was 15 positives that came through on the same day. And these other ones were just 1. So all the other days were just 1. But you can see like this example, it took 254 days and then there was a one positive interest. And this might be kind of confusing, like why did it take 254 days? Well, a lot of times what happens is you'll reach out to the lead, you don't get a conversion, you maybe email them 1 or 2 times, and then what you do is you go ahead and you wait. So you wait 3 months and then you email them again. And you still don't get a reply. Then you email them again another 3 months. And that's typically how that works. So you might end up recycling that list multiple times. And this is where you can start to see those trends is how long is it taking for them to reply. So typically what clients will do is they'll email them 1 or 2 times, don't get a reply, wait 3 months, email them 1 or 2 more times, and so forth. And so this can give you insights into that. And we have other reports where we can actually dig down deeper into all the different steps and how that happened. So that's for the events campaign. Now you can look at the careers campaign and you can see, again, 10. There was one that took 402 days and so forth. So you can really start to see some really interesting data there. You can also see here, when we're filtering this, you can see the different email resellers. So like what we recommend when you're doing these campaigns to have multiple resellers that you're working with. There's a lot of them out there. There's more coming out all the time. And we integrate with all of them. So whichever tool you're using, just let us know whichever reseller you're using. We can make sure they're included in the report. And so you can see what is the percentage that they're converting. So this is the positive reply rate. So this is the number of emails sent to the percentage that were actually positive. You can also see the server, which server is converting better. And now we're going to talk about some of the LinkedIn trends. So you can see with the LinkedIn trends, as far as how many were positive, let's go ahead and look at some more data here so we can get some more stuff. So we were just looking at Pilot Stack. So let's look at both Pilot Stack and FlowDeck. So you can see here with LinkedIn, we've got Brianna is actually doing the best as far as the number of positives she's had, how many connects were sent, how many were accepted, how many comments she did. So this is like the automated comments, we're tracking that as well. How many post likes she did, how many DM voices were sent, how many LinkedIn DMs were sent. All of this data is getting tracked. You could also, again, if you just wanted to look at one particular person, you could click on Brianna, for example. It's interesting. She's having the lowest acceptance rates, but she's having more positives. It's very interesting. You can start to look at these trends to see what's going on. So you could do that, and that would actually show you how it's doing over time. So you can see, was there a major trend? Did something change? And you can see what it is for that particular time for that client or that particular person. Now we're getting into the attribute data. So this is really, really cool. This is when you uploaded that Apollo file or that ICPs file, we got a lot more data. So we got the employee counts and the company industry and the job title. And this is really what's gonna help you know where to focus your efforts as far as your targeting goes. So let's look again, let's just say we wanna look at the Pilot Stack Careers campaign. So we can click on that, and now we're only seeing data for the Pilot Stack Careers campaign. So you can see how many employees are converting. So the highest one actually is 1,000 plus employees. It's highest by a lot. You can see next we've got higher education, and then you can see different job titles. So what this is telling us is that we're getting our best conversions for the 1,000 plus employees and higher education with the career coach job title. So this is really going to show you where you should focus your efforts when you source more. And it can make a huge difference because you only have so much sending capacity, and you want to make sure you're getting good replies so you can really focus in on those specific attributes that are converting the highest. You can also see location that you're getting the most positives from as well, which is pretty cool. That's what that looks like there. So again, there's so much data we can go into with this report. I get so excited about it. With where we're at with a company right now, you can actually get custom advice from us. So if you are using this tool and you want us to actually look at the reporting for you, make sure everything's configured properly, make sure it's working right, just send us a message, and we'd love to get on a call with you and make sure that you're using everything the right way, and we're doing our best to get you in the right direction. Hope you have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.